The EyeLink start recording and stop recording components provide control over eye tracker recording. Typically, eye tracker recording starts before each trial and then stops again immediately after each trial ends. Most of the examples that are included with the EyeLink plugin illustrate the typical trial-level recording control structure. And it's important to note that stopping recording between trials is useful for two reasons. First, stopping recording between trials provides an opportunity to do a drift check procedure between trials and hence recalibrate the eye tracker if necessary as you go through the trials. Second, doing so allows you to repopulate the host PC backdrop via a host drawing component. Both of these processes can only be performed when the eye tracker is not actively recording data. In some circumstances, like in experiments that involve MRI devices, where scan repetition timing may need to control the overall experimental timing, it might be better to record continuously through a block of trials. In an MRI setting, the idea is to start eye tracker recording before a scan and then stop eye tracker recording after the scan is complete. But this same structuring can be used in other cases where continuous eye tracker recording is required through a block of trials. In most cases, though, it's best to start recording before each trial and stop recording after each trial. The start recording and stop recording components should each go into a routine that is separate from any routines that present experimental events, like trial stimuli. And you can see this structuring in the various examples that are included with the plugin. In examples where eye tracker recording starts at the beginning of each trial and then stops again at the end of each trial, like the EyeLink picture plugin example, you can see that the trial loop contains an EyeLink start recording routine at the beginning of the loop and an EyeLink stop recording routine at the end of the loop. These routines include the appropriate recording control components. In the EyeLink MRI demo plugin example, the start recording routine occurs at the beginning of a block loop, which includes a nested trial loop that executes all the trials of the block. And the stop recording routine is executed at the end of that block loop, after all trials of the block have finished. We'll talk about the mark events component in more detail in the next video in this series, but in terms of recording control, it's important to note that the mark events component that's used in the routine that handles your actual trial level events will need to be set up differently depending on whether you're controlling eye tracker recording at the trial level or at the block level. If your experiment is set up to do the more typical trial level recording control, then the send trial onset offset messages property of the mark events component should be unchecked. If you're doing block level recording control, like in the MRI demo example, then the send trial onset offset messages property should be checked. This will make it so the experiment sends messages at the beginning and end of each iteration of the trial routine to mark the beginning and end of your trials, essentially allowing data viewer or other analysis packages to break the long recording, which will include all the trials of the block, into its multiple separate trials. The EyeLink start recording routine can also include a host drawing component and a drift check component. If it includes these components, make sure the host drawing component is placed at the top of the routine, the drift check component is below that, and the start record component is at the bottom of the routine. The top to bottom ordering determines the order of execution of the components in the routine, and it's important to ensure host drawing occurs before a drift check and that both host drawing and drift check occur before eye tracker recording starts. The start record and stop record components are both executed at the end of the routine that they're in, so their start and stop properties are not used.